Most people think collapse looks like a movie. Explosions, riots, people running through the streets. But for the 54 million Americans over 65, the real danger looks nothing like that. It starts quietly. The power goes out on a Tuesday afternoon. No big announcement, no warning siren, just silence. And suddenly, your CPAP machine stops. Your insulin needs refrigeration. Your electric stove won't turn on. And the pharmacy 3 miles away, closed. The roads, jammed or empty, depending on the hour. You're not being asked to bug out, fight anyone, or carry a 50-pound pack through the woods. That's not your reality. And honestly, it doesn't need to be. Because the people who survive slow collapses aren't the ones with the most gear. They're the ones who made the right decisions before things got hard. Here's what most survival channels won't tell you. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, just 24 hours without power, over 100 people died. Not from violence, from heat, medication failure, and simple accidents in the dark. A single day. Now imagine 2 weeks. That's exactly why the 9 items in this video matter. Not gold, not guns. The things sitting in a dollar store aisle or your neighbor's garage that will quietly become the most traded, most desperate, most needed items in your zip code. Some of these will surprise you. One of them costs less than $3 and could determine whether your neighbor trusts you or doesn't. Stay with me, because what you're about to see isn't about fear. It's about being the calm, prepared person your community needs most. Number 9, small denomination cash. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you had $200 in small bills sitting in your home? Not in a bank account, not on a card, but physically in your hand. For most people over 65 living in suburban America, the honest answer is probably a long time ago. We've gotten used to tapping a card, clicking a button, trusting the system. And most of the time, that system works just fine. Until it doesn't. Here's what nobody talks about. During a slow collapse, the kind that creeps in over days, not hours, ATMs run out of cash within 72 hours of a major disruption. Not because the money disappears, because everyone panics at the same time. The machine that serves your neighborhood, it holds roughly $200,000 on a normal Friday. By Sunday morning after a grid failure, it's empty. And your debit card? Useless without power at the terminal. This is where small bills become something entirely different. Not wealth, leverage. A $5 bill handed to a neighbor with a generator can mean a hot meal. A $10 bill at a small family-owned store, the kind that sometimes keeps a manual register, can get you the last bottle of water on the shelf. Stores are 4.3 times more likely to accept cash from a familiar face during a shortage than from a stranger offering something to trade. That's not economics. That's human nature. You don't need a fortune. Preppers who've lived through regional collapses recommend keeping at least $300 to $500 in mixed small denominations. 1s, 5s, 10s, stored quietly at home, rotated every year so the bills stay crisp and credible. It's not dramatic. It's not complicated. But in week 2 of a blackout, that envelope in your drawer might be the most powerful thing you own. Number 8, non-perishable foods. Most people think they have enough food at home to last a few days. Open the average kitchen cabinet in suburban America, and you'll find maybe 3 or 4 days of real meals, if you're being generous. But here's the part that changes everything. It's not just about having food. It's about having food you can actually prepare when the stove doesn't work, the microwave is dead, and you haven't slept properly in 4 nights. Decision fatigue is real. After 72 hours of disruption, cognitive function in adults over 65 drops measurably, affecting judgment, memory recall, and the ability to sequence simple tasks. That means complicated recipes, even ones you've made 100 times, become genuinely difficult. This is the moment when a can of soup, a jar of peanut butter, or a sealed bag of rice becomes more than food. It becomes a decision you don't have to make. FEMA recommends a 2-week supply. Most prepping experts who work specifically with older adults quietly push that to 30 days. Not because they expect a 30-day disaster, but because supply chain disruptions rarely announce their end date. What works best for this situation isn't a fancy freeze-dried kit shipped to your door. Canned beans provide complete protein when paired correctly, stay shelf-stable for up to 5 years, and require nothing more than a manual can opener and a small camp stove to prepare. A case of 24 cans costs under $18 at most grocery stores right now. The goal isn't abundance. It's removing one more crisis from an already exhausting day, so you can save your energy for the decisions that actually matter. Store what you eat, rotate it quietly, and never let the shelf go below 2 weeks. Number 7. Manual can openers. This one sounds almost too simple to mention, and that's exactly why it belongs on this list. You've done the right thing. You've stocked the canned goods, beans, soup, tuna, vegetables, lined up neatly on a shelf, ready for the moment you need them. And then the power goes out. The electric can opener on your counter is now just a paperweight. And the cheap manual one in the back of your junk drawer? It snapped the last time you tried to use it. This scenario plays out more often than anyone wants to admit. During Hurricane Katrina, relief workers documented dozens of cases where elderly residents had food supplies but no functioning way to access them. Not because they didn't prepare, because they prepared incompletely. A quality manual can opener, the kind with ergonomic soft grip handles, designed specifically for hands affected by arthritis or reduced grip strength, costs between $12 and $18. The average American senior has a grip strength roughly 40% lower than they did at age 40, which means the standard cheap opener that works fine for a 35-year-old can become genuinely painful and unreliable after 65. This matters more than it sounds. When you're tired, when your hands are cold, when the light is low and your patience is thin, a can opener that fights you isn't just frustrating. It's a safety risk. Slips happen, cuts happen, and in a world where the nearest urgent care clinic may be closed or overwhelmed, a small hand laceration becomes a real problem. Buy 2. Keep one in the kitchen, one in your emergency kit. Look for the OXO Good Grips model or anything rated specifically for low hand strength. Test it now, before you need it, with the lights on and your hands warm. Because the worst moment to discover your can opener doesn't work is the moment your stomach is empty and the grid is dark. Number 6. Personal hygiene. Nobody talks about this one, and that silence is exactly what makes it dangerous. When people think about survival, they think about food, water, shelter. Hygiene doesn't make the dramatic highlight reel, but ask any emergency medicine physician who worked through a prolonged disaster, Katrina, Maria, the Texas freeze of 2021, and they'll tell you the same thing. Infections killed more people in the weeks after the storm than the storm itself did. For adults over 65, this risk isn't theoretical. It's biological. The immune system naturally weakens with age, a process called immunosenescence. A urinary tract infection that a healthy 40-year-old shakes off in a few days can escalate to sepsis in an older adult within 72 hours if left untreated. And when the local clinic is closed and the hospital ER is running on backup power with a 6-hour wait, untreated becomes far more likely than anyone wants to admit. This is why bar soap, antibacterial wipes, and basic sanitation supplies belong in your emergency kit just as seriously as food and water. But there's a layer most people miss. When municipal water pressure drops, which happens within 24 to 48 hours of a major grid failure in most small towns, flushing toilets becomes unreliable. Filling your bathtub immediately when you hear a disaster warning can store up to 100 gallons of usable water for basic sanitation. Most people don't do this because it feels premature. By the time it feels necessary, the pressure is already gone. Feminine hygiene products, adult briefs, and gentle no-rinse body wash aren't luxuries in this context. They are dignity. They are infection prevention. They are the difference between managing a crisis and being consumed by one. Stock a 30-day supply. Store it where you can reach it without bending or climbing. And remember, this is one of the categories that disappears from store shelves before the food does. Number 5. Toilet paper. You already know this one. You saw it happen in March 2020. Shelves stripped bare overnight. People filling entire shopping carts. Stores imposing purchase limits for the first time in modern American retail history. But here's what most people got wrong about that moment. They laughed at it. They called it panic buying. They called it irrational. It wasn't. The average American uses approximately 100 rolls of toilet paper per year, roughly 1 roll every 3.5 days. That number climbs quietly, but significantly for older adults managing digestive medications, fiber supplements, or conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, which affects nearly 1 in 8 Americans over 65. This isn't a comfort item. For many people, it's a medical necessity wrapped in an embarrassingly ordinary package. But the real reason toilet paper belongs on this list has nothing to do with personal use. It has everything to do with what it represents in a barter economy. Think about your neighborhood right now. The retired teacher 2 doors down, the widow across the street, the couple on the corner who never quite stocked up. In post-disaster barter situations documented after major hurricanes, toilet paper consistently ranked among the top 5 most requested trade items, above batteries, above flashlights, and in several cases above bottled water. A single roll, handed quietly to a neighbor in genuine need, builds more goodwill than almost anything money can buy in normal times. And goodwill, the kind that makes a neighbor check on you, share information, or simply not forget you exist, is one of the most undervalued survival assets an older adult living alone can have. Store it in a cool, dry place. Vacuum seal bags compress bulk rolls down to a fraction of their size. 48 rolls take up less space than a medium suitcase and represent nearly 5 months of supply for one person. That's not hoarding. That's quiet, dignified preparation.